Hi, seventh graders. Today we are going to be starting topic 5. And topic 5 is still dealing with algebra. So we will still be using all the skills that we learned in topic 4, the distributive property, the commutative property, combining like terms, adding expressions, but we'll be applying those skills to algebraic equations, okay? What you need to know about equations, so how our problems will be different in topic 5 is that you will see an equal sign in the problems, and that equal sign tells us that that we can actually solve for a variable. Because we know what a plus 5 is, we know that it's equal to 17, then we can use our skills to figure out like what is a. And so yeah, in topic 5, we will be still dealing with algebra, but we'll actually be solving equations and actually solving the problems and coming up with a solution for the variable. Okay, so solving one-step equations, we're going to start really, really easy. You did some of these in 6th grade, so you should already know kind of or have some experience with solving one-step equations and finding the solution or for a variable, but I have added in some negative numbers in, so you didn't maybe deal with negative numbers in your equations in 6th grade. So we'll start out easy, and I promise if this is really easy for you, it's not because I think you're not intelligent enough. It's just we start easy and then we progressively build and get more difficult as the topic goes on. So solving one-step equations. How I would like you to show your work is I would like you to always draw a line through the equal sign. And then the whole idea is that you'll split the equation or the problem into two sides. The left side of the equal sign, the right side of the equal sign. And then your whole idea is you want to isolate the variable or you want to get the letter like all by itself. So you want to get the letter on one side of that line and all the numbers on the other side of the line. You do that by doing the opposite. So if you see addition, the opposite of addition is subtraction. If you see subtraction, the opposite is addition. If you see a number right next to a variable, so here, let me get my pen ready. Sorry about this. If you see a number right next to a variable, so if you see something like this, 5x, that means multiplication. So the opposite of that would be division, and we show division in 7th grade with a fraction bar. And then if you see a fraction, so if you see something like this, x over 3, that means division. The opposite of that would be multiplication, and you show multiplication with a dot, okay? So we are just going to practice. For our answer, your answer will always look something like this, x equals, or say 3, or you might sometimes have like 3 equals x. So like depending on what side the variable started on, you will have x either on the left side or the right side. I would like you to keep the letter on the same side that it started. Okay, so let's just get into this. So I have a plus 5 equals 17. So following our steps, I draw my line. To get a by itself, I need to get rid of a plus 5. The opposite of adding 5 is subtracting 5. So I subtract 5 from both sides. 5 minus 5 is 0. Those cancel out, so just cross them out. We're going to leave a on this left side equals, and then 17 minus 5 is 12. So my answer is 12. Now, if you wanted to, you could always check your work. So we're saying that this a up here in that original problem is equal to a 12. You don't have to, but if you would like to check your answer and make sure it's correct, we would just put in a 12 for a. So we write the rest of the problem again. 12 plus 5 equals 17. That was my original problem. Then I solved the left side. 12 plus 5 is 17, and 17 is equal to 17. So that checks out. That's how you know you have the right answer. Okay, let's try the next one. So we draw our line. To get y by itself, I need to get rid of that minus 14. Remember, we always do the opposite. So the opposite of subtracting 14 is adding 14 to both sides. When we have a minus 14 and a plus 14, this is kind of like y minus 14 is the same as y plus negative 14. So honestly, we have negative 14 plus positive 14. Now, you don't have to show that. I just need you to know that if you do the opposite, if you see subtraction and you do the opposite, adding, those will cancel out. It equals 0, and y minus 0 is just y. So that's how you get y by itself. So if you do the opposite, you cross out the numbers because they cancel out. And then on the right-hand side, I have 22 plus 14. That would give us 36. So we're saying that this y up here is equal to 36. Let's try another one. So we draw our line. To get x by itself, I need to get rid of a minus 8. The opposite of subtracting 8 is adding 8 to both sides. The 8's will cancel out. I'm left with x on the left-hand side equals, careful, we have negative 25 plus 8. So negative 25 and a positive 8, you don't actually end up adding those. 25, because they're different signs, we'll subtract. So we get 17, and then negative 25 is further away from 0. So x is equal to negative 17. So you'll have to use your integer skills that you learned at the beginning of the year. Okay, let's go to the next problem. So we're going to draw our line. We have a 6 right next to an x. 6 right next to a variable means multiplication. The opposite of that is division, and we show division with a fraction bar. So I'm going to put a fraction bar on both sides, and we want to divide by the number we're getting rid of. So we want to get rid of that 6, so we're going to divide, oh, I'm so sorry. We're going to divide both sides by 6. 6 divided by 6 on the left side, they cancel out because that equals 1, and 1 times x is just x. That's going to equal, always put your equal sign, 48 divided by 6 is 8. And if you need to use your calculator on these, you can, but I would challenge you not to because I think you could probably do a lot of these in your head. Okay, draw your line. I see a fraction. We need to know that a fraction means division. And the opposite of division is multiplication. In 7th grade, we show multiplication with a dot. So we're going to multiply both sides by the number I want to get rid of. I want to get rid of that 5. So on this side, it kind of looks like we have, on the left side right here, it kind of looks like we have 5 times 5. It's not. It's actually 5 times the fraction 1/5. And 5 times 1/5, that's equal to 1. So all you need to know is those 5s will cancel out. So you cross those out, and you're left with n on the left side. So you don't have to show all that. Just show if you're multiplying by 5, the 5s will cancel out. So just cross out the 5s. Then n is by itself on the left side. That's equal to 12 times 5 on the right side would equal 60. So that original n is equal to 60. Let's try that again. So draw our line. A fraction means division. The opposite of division is multiplication. We show multiplication with a dot. We're going to multiply both sides by the number I want to get rid of, 3. We cross out the 3's because they cancel out. B is equal to 42 times 3. Try not to use your calculator. 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 4 is 12. So B is equal to 126. Okay, let's do some more with negative numbers. So we have x plus 13 is equal to negative 23. I draw my line. To get x by itself, I need to get rid of that 13. The opposite is subtracting 13 from both sides. 13's cancel out. X equals, okay, we have negative 23 minus 13. A lot of us are going to be tempted to go, oh, 23 minus 13, that's going to be 10 or negative 10. No. So subtracting, when we're subtracting negative numbers, negative 23 is minus 13 is the same as adding the opposite. So adding a negative 13. So that's actually negative 23 plus negative 13, which would give you negative 36. So this x is equal to negative 36. Okay, let's draw our line. To get n by itself, we need to do the opposite of subtracting 32. We need to add 32 to both sides. 32's cancel out. I'm left with n equals negative 12 plus 32. Careful, that's a negative 12 and a positive 32. So that would be positive 20. Oh, sorry, positive 20. Okay, draw your line. We want to get a by itself. We need to get rid of a plus 40. So the opposite is subtracting 40 from both sides. 40's cancel out. I get a equals 55 minus 40 is 15. Okay, next problem. So this is where some students will kind of struggle. We'll see that minus sign and think, oh, well, the opposite of minus is adding. So we need to add 2 to both sides. So I taught you this in topic 4, that when we have a minus sign, it looks like a subtraction sign at the beginning of a problem. That's actually not subtraction, that's a negative number. So that's a -2. We need to look at that as like a -2. So that's -2 right next to an X. That means multiplication. When we have a negative number right next to a variable, that means multiplication. The opposite is division, and we show division with a fraction bar. So fraction bar on both sides, we need to divide both sides by -2. The -2's cancel out. I'm left with X equals 30 divided by 2 is 15. And what you'll notice is they have different signs. And when we're dividing or multiplying numbers, when they have different signs, you'll get a negative number. So X is equal to -15. Let's try another one like that. So we draw our line. -3 right next to an N, that means multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. We show division with a fraction bar. We're going to divide both sides by -3. The -3's cancel out. I'm left with N equals 27 divided by 3 is 9. And then if you'll notice, they have the same signs. So it should be a positive answer, +9. And then lastly, draw our line. A fraction, so I see a fraction, that means division. The opposite of division is multiplication. We show multiplication with a dot. We're going to multiply both sides by 10, the number we want to get rid of. The 10's cancel out. I'm left with X equals 7 times 10 is 70. Different signs, so it's -70. So that is solving one-step equations. I want you to flip to the back side. So the back side says you also need to be able to read story problems, like real life situations, and then write them as algebraic equations. So I think that's what's the hardest thing about algebra for middle schoolers, honestly, high schoolers, adults. Oftentimes we struggle to like read a story problem and then transfer it into like a problem that we can actually solve, specifically algebra. So I think it's helpful, first of all, to worry about solving it later. So if you're a student that you automatically go to solving in your head, that's going to give you some problems in topic 5 and honestly in all of algebra. Like we want to be able to, as mathematicians, to read a problem and then write an algebraic equation or expression that we can solve for any variable, for any situation. We don't automatically want to go to solving in our head. We want to take a problem and then take a story or take a math situation and then write a problem that we can solve for any given situation. So I think it's helpful, first of all, to not automatically go to solving the problem. Go to like, how am I going to write this problem as like a math sentence? It's also helpful to always look for like the total. Look for words like the total is, or the answer is, or equals. If you know what that problem is, if you know what that number is, that'll always go after the equal sign. So if it says something is equal to 7, you'll know that like you'll have your math problem, your equal sign, and then your answer. If you know like if it says equals 7, then you would know that 7 would have to go there. And so I think that's also helpful, is to always look for that first. Look for the words that say equals something, or the total is something, or the answer is something, because that number will always go after the equal sign. And then honestly, going back to the original problem and just reading it over and over again until it makes sense. So I think with algebra problems, we often read it, and as middle schoolers, just as humans in general, if something's hard to understand, our brain kind of zones out and we get to the end and we're like, oh crap, what did we just read? Like it sounds foreign, it sounds a little bit different, and it sounds confusing, and so our brain kind of like shuts off. And so fight that and try to stay focused while you're reading it, but then just know that like you'll probably get to the end of the problem, need to reread it 2 or 3 times to understand it. You'll get better at this with practice, okay? So this says 8 times a number, so we're going to practice. 8 times the number n is equal to 136. Write this statement as an equation and solve for the variable. So we want like a math problem with an equal sign and then another number at the end. So that's what an equation is going to look like, okay? So, and we're going to solve later. We're just worrying about writing them right now. So it says 8 times the number n is equal to 136, equal to 136. So hopefully you heard that, equal to 136. That means 136 is going to go here. That's the answer to the equation. And then once you're done with that, then you just have to worry about, the beginning part. So it says 8 times a number n, 8 times a number n. Sometimes it's helpful to write what you hear. 8 times a number n. 8 times n, 8 times n. Well, how do we write 8 times the variable? We squish them together like that, 8n. So our equation then is 8n equals 136. So 8n equals 136. And then we'll come back to solving that later. Let's try another one. It says 12 less than a number y is equal to negative 90. Write an equation that represents this and solve the equation. So we're going to write the equal sign. We're always looking for what it equals first. So 12 less than a number y is equal to negative 90, equal to negative 90, equal to negative 90. That means that negative 90 goes right here. And then we're done with that part. We can cross it out. And then let's go back to the beginning and just read until we figure it out. So 12 less than a number y, 12 less than y. So I heard a 12 and a y, then less than, less than. Less than means it's getting smaller. And so the number's going down, and hopefully we know this in 7th grade, it means subtraction. However, when they say 12 less than a number, that means we want to take 12 away from the number. So 12 less than y means we want to take away 12 from y. So when you see less than, it actually means we have to swap the order of those. We want to start with y, and if we want 12 less, we have to take away 12 from y. So we actually have to write it like this, y. Oh, I'm so sorry, my screen is so fidgety today. Y minus 12. So that's our equation that we would then solve. Okay, let's go to the next one. A number x divided by negative 7 is equal to 8. Write the statement as an equation and solve. Okay, a number x divided by negative 7 is equal to 8. Remember, we're always looking for what it equals. Equal to 8, equal to 8. That means 8 is going to go at the end of the problem. And then we go back and reread. A number x, okay, x divided by, well, that's division, negative 7. However, we don't write division in 7th grade like that. Division, we show division in 7th grade as a fraction. So we would actually write it like this. X divided by negative 7 is equal to 8. And then hopefully you would know the steps to solve those. Let's go to the next one. A number a is increased by 9. This is equal to negative 23. Write and solve an equation that represents this statement. Okay, so again, always look for equal. What's it equal to? So a number a is increased by 9. This is equal, there it is, equal to negative 23. So we know negative 23 goes at the end of our problem. Then we're done with that. We'll go back and reread until it makes sense to us. So a number a, okay, I see a, increased by 9. Okay, so the number 9 increased. Increase means to go up. That means to add in math. So a plus 9 is equal to negative 23. And then you would draw your line and get an a all by itself to solve it. Okay, now let's go to a real life situation. Mrs. Ballard bought 8 tickets to the Jack's basketball game, totaling $96. That's the total. That's what it equals. So I bought 8 tickets to a basketball game, and my total, or what it was equal to, was $96. Well, right there, that 96 is going to go here. Okay, it says write and solve an algebraic equation that showing C, the cost of each ticket. So every ticket cost C dollars. Okay, so what did I do? I bought 8 tickets, and every single ticket cost C dollars. That's the cost of each ticket. Well, okay, I bought 8 tickets. The first ticket cost C dollars. The next ticket cost C dollars. The next ticket cost C dollars. To find your total, you would multiply those. However, we wouldn't write it like that. We smush them together. 8C is equal to 96. And then lastly, it says Johnny had some highlighters. So we had some highlighters. We don't really know how many. Okay, he gave away 14 at lunch. He still had 22 highlighters after giving them away. So, okay, write an equation that shows how many highlighters each he had before lunch. Okay, well, we don't know how many he had before lunch. It says he had H before lunch. Okay. So he had H before lunch, and what happened? Oh, he gave 14 away, so he subtracted 14. And then the total that he had after, like the end of the problem, the total that he had was 22. So it would be that. So then to solve them, to solve these problems, we just go back and we draw our line. In this first problem, 8n, that means multiplication. The opposite is division. We show division with a fraction bar. So we're going to divide by 8. 8's cancel out, and I get n equals, oh man, can I do that in my head? 136 divided by 8. Is that probably going to be a decimal this time? I'm not sure. 136 divided by 8. Nope, it's not. It's 17. So n is equal to 17. Okay, let's do this one. So y minus 12 is equal to negative 90. We're going to draw our line. To get y by itself, we need to do the opposite. We add 12 to both sides. 12's cancel out. I get y equals negative 90 plus 12 is going to be negative 78. Let's try another one. So x divided by negative 7 is equal to 8. We draw our line. Fraction means division. The opposite is multiplication. We show multiplication with the dot. We're going to multiply both sides by negative 7. Negative 7's cancel out, and I get x equals 8 times 7 is 56. Different sign, so it's negative 56. Let's try another one. So a plus 9 is equal to negative 23. I draw my line. To get a by itself, we need to do the opposite. We subtract 9 from both sides. The 9's cancel out. I get a equals, careful, we have a negative minus another number. Minus 9 is the same as adding a negative 9. So we actually have negative 23 plus negative 9, which would be, I believe, negative 32. So that a is equal to negative 32. Okay, these more real life situations. So I bought 8 tickets to the basketball game. Every ticket cost C dollars. My total was $96. So we're trying to find C, the cost of each ticket. I draw my line. 8 right next to a C means multiplication. The opposite is division. We show division with a fraction bar. Divide by 8 on both sides. C is equal to, I'm going to do 96 divided by 8. And that would be 12. So the cost is $12. That means every ticket, or $12 per ticket. And then lastly, the one about the highlighters. We're trying to find out how many highlighters he had before lunch. Draw your line. To get h by itself, we do the opposite of subtracting 14. So we add 14 to both sides. 14s are going to cancel out. And I would get h equals 36. So he had 36 highlighters before lunch. So that is the beginning of topic 5. Now you're going to have a worksheet, a two-sided worksheet on solving one-step equations. And hopefully this makes more sense to you, and it should be pretty easy. And we will, next week, we'll get into writing and solving two-step equations.